Good evening and welcome to another episode of Face to Face. Yours truly, Nestor Can and Caprice.
That's me.
And we going down to the countdown to the 100th episode.
Yes, the 100th episode.
Face to Face.
Exciting. Woo woo.
I'm at 100. That's a lot of pressure.
Tonight we have a special guest in the building. We have the Doctor.
Doctor is in the house.
Julius Johnson. What's up, baby?
Not much. What's going on, bro?
All right. You know, he's no stranger. He's been in the studio a lot of times.
You know, I've seen your show before. You come on the show before, and I was really into that episode. I think I commented on it too, actually.
The one with the bar and reunion. He came before that too to talk about I forgot what it was.
I think it was actually a couple of months after I got my doctorate.
There we go. And then he came on for the sports podcast. He's been in like 4 or 5 times already.
Wow. Yeah. It's been good. It's been a blessing.
Yeah.
This helped launch me into podcasting myself.
Oh, really?
He does some podcast. We'll get into that.
You birthing a lot of kids over here. That little child. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm from his tree.
Yeah, me too.
So what's going on, man? What's new? What you been? I've been following you on social media, and you've been doing a lot of good things, man. What's new?
What's not new? Well, I would say that the newest as of this Monday, I was inducted as a fellow into the American Association of Nurse Practitioners, which is the highest award a nurse practitioner can receive from other nurse practitioners.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations with that, bro.
I'm going to try the bell, all right? Let's see what happens.
He normally gives that bell when someone says something good or congratulations. Yeah,
all right, there you go.
There we go. That's the thing. So that's the newest thing. That had been something I had applied for back in October. And so just waiting. It's been 5 months since I applied. So just waiting to hear back from them, which is solely based on your accomplishments and things that you've done, either solo or as a group. So that was a huge accomplishment. Like, it's a huge milestone. The only thing higher than that would be getting inducted to what we call the Hall of Fame of Nursing, which is becoming a fellow into the Academy of Nursing, which I'm gonna apply for later on this year. But
so talk your shit, King.
So that's the newest thing. Other than that, still teaching, doing businesses, still working, doing community, still president of my nursing chapter. Got a baby girl that's 4 now, grown and growing. Being a parent is amazing.
Is it?
Yeah. It's scary.
Yeah.
But one of the best things with kids is that the next day is a new day, just meaning they wake up and they almost forget anything bad you did the day before.
Wow.
Right? So
that's interesting. I never heard that. Okay.
So having that kind of start over when you only starting over when it's something bad happens. When it's something good, they roll over, right? Like if you tell them we're going to Chuck E. Cheese tomorrow, they're going to wake up saying we're going to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But the bad stuff is kind of like, all right, do we get a fresh start? We absolutely get a fresh start. And I think that's one of the best things about being a dad, and it's one of the things I love the most. Nice. So if you're going to give me a free do-over when I do something wrong, I'm going to keep limiting those and build on the good times. So it's a blessing being a parent.
Yeah. Nice. Do you feel any type of way that you have a daughter, you're raising a young lady? How does that feel?
So I was one of those guys, one of those men that said, I want a son.
You wanted a son?
Oh, you wanted a son.
You gotta get the shotgun out. You got a daughter. You hear that?
Lord.
I know.
But really mostly because I just wanted somebody that would be able to protect, because I eventually wanted a girl, but I wanted a boy to be able to protect his sister, if anything.
If I may, I've heard this before, but I strongly believe that having the girl first is better, and I'm going to explain why. I think because having a boy first to protect the daughter, the girl, you'll get physical protection. But with a girl, not only will you get physical protection, but you'll get emotional protection as well. So I feel like it's better for the girl to be the protector. I don't know. That's just how I.
No. You're making a lot of sense. Yeah. On top of, like, I've also heard that when you have the girl first, the son sees how his older sister is being treated, and then he'll emulate that based on that.
Oh wow!
Right.
See, I didn't even think of that.
When he doesn't have that, he's just kind of moving how he think he should be moving.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, but for me, honestly, so crazy enough though. I wanted the son first.
Right.
God knew exactly what he was doing by giving me a girl first.
Oh, really?
Like exactly what he was doing. And I say that because with a boy and the way we are, especially as black men, you have to follow what I say until you can beat me. Right? Like that's,
pretty much, yeah.
That's how it works with your dad, right? Like you size him up, and I'm not gonna win this fight, so I'm gonna have to do it. With a little girl, you can't do that. Like you have to find logic and reasoning, and trying to find logic and reasoning with a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, that's a girl,
just doesn't exist.
Like right, so you're forced to do things like you said. You grow emotionally, right? Like you grow in attachments, you grow in your understanding, because it's just a different level. And I think if I'm ever fortunate enough to have a son, then my son would be blessed because of me having a daughter first, which is also interesting because the way the men in the family have run, meaning me, my dad, my granddad, we've all had girls first, and then had a boy second. So it's interesting. But yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I've been up to, being a dad, making up time.
Let's go back a little bit. How did you get into nursing?
So I got into it. So funny thing is, I always say, I have this saying that I love. I feel like I said it last time I was on here. Well, I said the first time I was on here. Yeah. Little black boys can't grow up to be what they can't see. So
I felt that.
So for me,
let's try this again.
So my dad's a nurse. And I've told this story before, but it's one of my favorite stories. I had no interest of being a nurse. I was just at his job one day and sitting at the nurse's station, being a kid, playing around. And all of a sudden the nurse gets up. No, not a nurse gets up. A nurse walks into the nursing station and she goes, "Thumper, thumper." And all the nurses jump up and take off. And because I'm from Brownsville, Brooklyn, when you with a group of people and they start running, you start running. Right? Like, everybody knows that. You don't ask no questions. So I take off and start running with the nurses. Right? And we run into a patient room and they're doing CPR, they're hanging lines, and I'm like, oh.
How old are you?
I had to be in junior high school.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay.
If that. It was around junior high school, because this is the time I still wanted to be a firefighter. And so I'm seeing this, I'm like, oh, I have to do this. Just an adrenaline rush. I was like, I have to do that. I have to do that. So, so it's like, Dad, what did you do to get where you are? Because I need to be there.
You fell in love with it.
I need to map it out. And then just interesting enough for me, nursing was my way out of the hood. Right? Nursing and sports. Sports was the first thing because in order to play, I always wanted to play for the Miami Hurricanes growing up. So in order to play for them, it meant I had to go to college. So I started backtracking. How do I get into college? You have to have a certain GPA, do well on SATs. Okay, I have to do this because I'm going to go play for the Hurricanes.
Right.
Getting nursing meant, I can get to a bag. I can make money, and we can get out the hood. So nursing was my way out. And then going back to the theory of you can't be what you can't see. So even with me getting inducted as a fellow, as a nurse practitioner, that was never a dream of mine going into nursing. It wasn't a dream of mine when I graduated nursing school. It wasn't a dream of mine when I graduated from my master's as a nurse practitioner. Because I didn't know nobody that had ever done that before. So it was never on my radar. But I got into nursing school, and towards the end of it, we had professors say, you can get a master's, you become a nurse practitioner. It's relatively a new nursing degree where you are practitioners and you do pretty much everything doctors do without incurring the depth of medical school in terms of outpatient. I put that in the back of my mind. Started working nursing, got into critical care at NYU, decided very early on, meaning probably 6 months into my career as a nurse, I cannot do this for much longer.
Wow.
I had felt like I had dealt with all the bullshit I was going to put up with when I went to undergrad, and I was not going to do that while getting paid. So I was like, I am getting up out of here. And then ding, ding, ding in the back of my mind, you could become a nurse practitioner. You start seeing some of the other older nurses on the unit who are going to nurse practitioner school and things. So I'm starting to see it now. So a vision is starting to form. Oh, I can work and do things that a doctor does, right? That means I can have my own clinic. I can build my own clinic. I can get up out of here, make more money, and get more freedom and more autonomy. I want to do that.
Can you explain what's the difference between a nurse practitioner and a nurse?
So a nurse is, and we've all had family members who've been in the hospital. Mm-hmm. So a nurse is there. The nurse will give you your meds. They'll hang you your IVs. Mm-hmm. They'll take your blood pressure, stuff like that, right? So a nurse that's what we call assessment. Like, they can look at you and try to figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. They can't actually diagnose you.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So a medical doctor, a nurse practitioner, depending on your specialties, there's different specialties, adult, family, pediatric, midwifery, women's health, different specialties. Family. So we can assess, and then we can diagnose, which nurses can't do. We can also prescribe medication, which nurses can't do.
Right. Okay.
And by nurses, I mean registered nurses, licensed practical nurses can't do. And we can also order tests. Right, I can order tests. I can order lab works. Now, don't get me wrong. There's many registered nurses that know the thought process to do all of that.
Right.
Their license just doesn't allow them to do it.
I understand.
Because working on a unit at NYU, we had this running joke called the suggestive hymn. Mm-hmm. And what that was, so July 1st, all of the new medical residents start, right? Meaning all the med grads graduate. Everybody starts on July 1st in terms of a medical world. So July 1st rolls around, so middle of July, August, the new residents that just graduated medical school don't necessarily know what they're doing. So we'll call them about a patient, and they'll go, and then the registered nurse goes, let's try doing this, and this.
Right.
Like, oh, that sounds good. I'm putting an order.
Right.
So a lot of them have the ability to do it. Your license just doesn't allow you to.
Right.
Oh,
okay.
gotcha.
I understand now.
Wow.
I never
a lot
knew
goes
that.
into that.
I never knew that. Yeah.
One of my questions is, when we think about nurse, think about women and men as doctors.
Yeah,
when you say you're a nurse, like, wait a minute, you're a guy. What's going on? What's the difference?
I don't like doing that. I really don't like doing that.
Females, doctors, men. Well, so break that down for us. Like,
so it's just So the funny thing is, and Nesta could tell you, right? Like the running joke when we was in high school, because everybody knew I was going into nursing. One of my boys, Ryan, he's around going, Nurse JJ, like through the halls. Right? It's like Nurse JJ, and he'd be like, yo, my guy gonna be a male nurse. Right?
A male nurse.
So for me, honestly, it was never a problem because, again, my dad was doing it. So I had a physical picture of what that looked like. Right. For other guys, they really think that, right? Yeah. Like, they think, oh, this is a woman's profession.
Right.
The same way they may think a fireman, a police officer, or even a medical doctor is a man's profession.
Yeah. You tend to gravitate to that thought process because of the majority of who's working that. So that's kind of how that works. But it's not true. We all know that it's not true.
Right. So I try to tell them things like, like, this is a profession for everybody. It doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
Right. Funny enough, when we hear stories of, and I'm kicking myself right now because I'm forgetting her name, and I always have it in the back of my name. I even made a post one time thinking
about me.
Someone went to school with?
No, the Supreme Court justice that died, and Trump replaced her almost before she was even in the ground. I can't think of her name.
Yeah.
But she, and now I have to Google it. But she pretty much, they made a movie about her.
Oh, wow.
In the movie, she broke a lot of stereotypes because she challenged a lot of what we call sexual orientation biases.
Was she also in the civil rights?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. It's a white woman.
Okay.
What is her name?
Can we get a couple of bells in the meantime?
Sure. No ads. Ooh, it worked.
Yeah.
Because this it bothers me.
Yeah, it's just always interesting when it comes to how we think. Like, when you think of like you said, a firefighter.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh yeah, okay.
RBG.
Right.
And I had to, I'm sorry.
You gotta remember those things.
Right. So RBG did a lot of challenges, and the movie that she has is great because in the movie, when she's challenging something, she tells them that a woman was challenging to, I think, become a lawyer, right? And forgive me if I'm recalling incorrectly. She was challenging to become a lawyer, and when she went to challenge at the Supreme Court, the defense pretty much felt so strong in their argument that they didn't even send anybody to oppose her.
Wow.
Right? And she still lost based on the fact that she was a woman.
Wow.
They're like, no, you just can't be admitted to the bar because you're a woman and only man can do it.
Wow.
But a lot of what she did also worked in the other way, right? So because she challenged these things that women should be lawyers, women should be medical doctors, women should be firemen, women should be police officers, it automatically challenged men should be allowed to be nurses as well.
I see.
Right? So without her pushing all of that, I can't come behind and do, like, my dad can't be a nurse, his friend that inspired him can't be a nurse.
Yeah.
Right? So so for me, to answer your question, it never bothered me in terms of men should be doctors, women should be nurses.
Yeah.
Because seeing my dad, but then also my dad was a nurse, right? Or still is a nurse, and my mom's a correction officer. So even when you talk about gender roles,
it's reversed because men are correction officer, women.
Right? So for me, I never had the traditional standpoint because I was because I just wasn't raised in it, which is it's a blessing,
right?
Because I see other people struggle in it. Like when I go talk to kids at schools and doing career fairs, they'll go, "You can't be a nurse. You're a man." And then we'll start asking the question like, "Y'all want to talk about how much money we make?"
That will change the game. Just give her a ding there for that bag.
You got anything, Caprice?
When you I want to know. Forgive me for this.
No, nothing's off.
Okay, because I don't know your limitations. What's the worst thing you had to experience in your career? Just the worst. You don't have to say names or anything. I just want to know situations.
So, all right. So, because I guess there's different levels to worst, right?
Okay.
Seeing death is, that's by far the worst in terms of in this instant. I think the worst morally is I had a situation where I was at a company and we all know about the current opioid overdose crisis we're in right now with fentanyl, right? But it's at the very least third or fourth opioid overdose crisis we've had as a country, right? Meaning counting heroin, counting crack cocaine, right? So one of the things they did was the first thing they did was blame prescribers for this fentanyl crisis, saying, y'all prescribing people way too many opioids, that's why they're dying. They put in something called iStop, right? Which is also the prescribers monitoring program, which means that, long story short, before I can prescribe somebody a controlled substance, especially an opioid, right? So morphine, oxycodone / Percocet, Vicodin,
say the fun
Cody,
stuff. Got it.
The fun stuff. even down to Xanax treatment for ADHD and something for diabetic pain. We have to. It's called consultant iStop. So I have to put their name and their date of birth in it, and it will run it in every pharmacy in the state of New York. And it will tell me if they've gotten a prescription for anything controlled. So even my medical marijuana patients, I have to do this with. And I'm supposed to then make a judgment based on what I've seen and say, okay, this person should get the prescription because there's no funny activity going on.
I understand.
Right? Funny activity meaning they may have gotten this prescription from this pharmacy before, then they went and got it from this prescriber, then they went and, right?
Yeah, that looks funny, yeah.
So when I started my nurse practitioner career, I was blessed enough I was able to know that he ran everything by the books, right? His thing was he not getting sued and he's making sure we not getting sued, because if we get sued, then the company gets sued. So the problems I ran into is I went to another company and I asked them, hey, who helps and assists with us running iStop? And he was like, nobody, we don't really do it here.
Oh.
I'm like, what do you mean we don't do it? Like I do it, right? Like
that sounds
I
like
know
a thing you should
how
do.
to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because what will happen before is like we'll put some stuff in, and sometimes we'll have somebody like we'll give them the okay, and they'll run iStop for every patient on our list for that day, and then we'll print it out and put it on top of my schedule. Right, so I can go to the schedule and I can look who's getting controlled substances, which was a great system. So I was asking to see if they do something similar to that. They was like, no, nor do their providers even check it.
What?
So I started asking, like, do you check it? It's like, no. So then I started having problems with them because they would say, this patient haven't been seen this month, so we need you to go see them because they need their prescription for Xanax. And I'm like, that's not my normal patient, right? So you just want me to go there. So I was like, you know what? I'll go see them. You go see them. And I'm like, all right. They're like, all right, now write the prescription for Xanax. I'm like, I'm in the car. I don't have access to iStop. It'll get done later on today or tomorrow. They're like, nah, we need you to just write it right now. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that doesn't seem
like
right.
I'm not doing that without checking iStop, and that was one of the most morally compromising positions I've been in, which was also just uncomfortable.
Now, does that behavior, that practice, is it because they're getting what's the goal here? Is somebody getting funds for this?
Sadly, they're not even getting funds for it.
So,
right, like meaning,
is it just lack of caring?
Lack of caring.
Wow,
like just go.
That's even worse.
And also, when people are very traditional, they feel like I've been doing this all my life. I should not be told to do something different if I don't think I'm doing something wrong. So you know, you had that. We have you'll see other areas where, because people don't realize, like a lot of people make a lot of money scamming Medicare and Medicaid.
I've heard about
like
that.
You think, oh, Medicaid's for poor people, right? Medicaid's really for the people that's billing Medicaid and Medicare and getting money off of it. Ordering supplies for patients like walkers, motorized wheelchairs, even ordering like home care unnecessarily, ordering like
I didn't know that. Wow.
Right. And then you got some companies that they'll order this stuff and they're getting a percentage on the back end from the supply company. Oh, go ahead and do this.
Are you okay saying this on air? You're not gonna get in trouble?
I don't participate in it, so I'm not gonna get in trouble. Right? Like, I got my own business now.
Right,
I don't even bill insurance.
Sure.
So
We're just getting to the dirty parts.
Okay.
because you know, truth is truth.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, true.
I didn't do it, but like you also see people, like you'll see people on the internet or on the papers get caught. Like there was a proctologist in Sheepshead Bay that was on the news years ago. It might have we might be pushing on like 8 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. And I remember the feds ran up on him because in his company they were billing for services that patients didn't need, which we call waste / abuse, and then billing for services that patients never received.
Oh my God!
Right, and we call that straight fraud.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what that's called.
So you see that, but people take those chances because the government can't catch everybody. So they figure, they're like, what? I probably have a 10 to 15% chance of actually getting caught.
How could you
they go,
though?
But people, they're business people, right? Healthcare is ran by business people. It's not ran by people that, like, with
souls. I get it.
Prescribers
I get it. That's awful.
Besides nursing, like you mentioned it, you want to be a firefighter, whatever field you wanted to, you were interested in.
So first I wanted to be a firefighter because I saw this movie called Backdraft.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I know Backdraft, yeah.
I'm like, running and burning buildings sound like a great idea.
Yo, you're a wild kid. Your way of thinking.
Saving people, running and burning buildings, great idea. Then the second thing I wanted to do that I seriously considered was... it was
being a lion tamer.
No. When the AIDS crisis had hit, I wanted to be in the middle of the AIDS crisis, and I wanted to find a cure for AIDS.
Okay.
And then
that's admirable.
Years later, what I realized with the common thread in all of this was I just wanted to help people.
There we go.
Right,
Firefighter,
fighting AIDS because of what I've seen.
Oh, I never thought about that. You look at it like that.
Yeah, you're a superhero.
Which is also funny because it's all the work that I did around COVID-19.
Yeah.
I remember telling somebody, I was doing an interview once, and I said, when the AIDS epidemic ran through the Black community, I was a child and lost a bunch of family members, friends, and their family members. And you're almost helpless, right? You're innocent, but you're also helpless because it was like my preteen, teenage years.
Yeah.
So for me, the COVID, that was our AIDS epidemic. Meaning the prescribers that can do something now. Because when you look back, I'm pretty sure y'all remember this. Remember when Magic Johnson...
I was going to bring that out. I was going to say, was this before Magic? In the 90s? Yeah.
Remember when Magic Johnson was like, oh, I've been cured, right? Like it was this big thing.
Yeah.
So he was on this type of therapy that We now know it, and it's been advanced to what we call PrEP and PEP, right? PrEP stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis.
You talked about this last time,
PEP stands for post-exposure, right? Which is short and sweet means that they can get your viral detection of HIV
right?
so low, right? That it's undetectable.
Undetected, yeah.
Undetectable means untransmittable. But that type of medication existed back then.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like this is what he was taking. It just wasn't affordable. Right? So if we would have been able to get that type of medication affordable to the poor people that lived in our neighborhoods, then it'll be so many more people alive to this day.
But why are they not
So
giving
right.
it? If this is killing people, why are they not giving it to, making it
I just feel like
available
it
to
all,
everybody?
I feel like it all comes down to money and the
that's
pharmaceutical
terrible.
company and that.
Like we had the pandemic, right? With the vaccine, it was available. They were telling everyone go out there. The vaccine is free. Take the.
That's why it's.
I mean, they get the
why I
vaccine. They get the shots to everybody. Why didn't they give the?
That's what I'm saying.
so
what's the difference?
So this is what you have to understand.
They were saying about that first, the shots. If you have money, only if you have money, you'll be able to get the shots. But
No. That wasn't true. But this is the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
Because the last time we was here, I was actually coming from a vaccine clinic.
Yeah.
So for those of us as providers, researchers, public interest people that saw the AIDS crisis and couldn't do nothing about it, because the people who was running healthcare pharmaceutical companies are business people. Common thread.
No souls.
I'm not even going to point them out and say no souls. Their goal is to make money. My goal as a provider is to save lives. We have different goals that can sometimes align.
Okay,
right?
fair enough.
When they align, it does the best. When they don't align, somebody has to lose.
Well
right?
said, yeah.
If I win, they lose money. If they win, I lose patience.
Yeah.
Right? So we saw this, we watched this. So now, me as somebody who's one of the most powerful voices in healthcare, because I sit as the president of the Greater New York City Black Nursing Association chapter, right? The same way my counterpart at the National Medical Association, which is the Black medical doctors and the Black social workers, we have powerful voices. So now when they say they're creating a vaccine, we're standing up and banging the table saying this vaccine needs to be free for everybody, right? So people are like, why would you do that? Because we watched the AIDS crisis and we watched how people died because they didn't have it. We also watched when COVID first hit New York City and it ran through. Remember, like the first week that COVID came out and hit New York City, it was the running joke that Black people don't get COVID.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was going around a lot. Yeah.
But the reason that was going around was because the testing sites for COVID were located in Manhattan, and the majority of Black people live in the outer boroughs. Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and even Staten Island. So if we couldn't get tested for it, you didn't know if you had it or not. You just ended up in the hospital. 2-3 weeks passed, and we start realizing Black people dying at more than double the rate that white people are dying.
Oh, wow.
Black people being infected at more than double the rate than white people. Black people being hospitalized more than.
Really?
On top of that, when you look at our hospitals, right? What borough are you from?
Brooklyn.
You familiar with Brookdale Hospital?
No.
What neighborhood in Brooklyn you live in?
Crown Heights.
You familiar with Kings County?
Yes.
Right?
I was born there, yeah.
You can attest that depending on when you go to Kings County, not even depending, when you go to Kings County, it probably look like a madhouse just from overcrowding.
Yes.
Or they call it Killer County.
Right? That's with having a hospital across the street from it, right? So, most of the people in Crown Heights, Flatbush, go to Kings County, downstate. Brookdale serves Brownsville, large area, and East New York. Very large area.
Yeah.
Right? So imagine how overcrowded that hospital is. They're all overcrowded. So you had some people who were dying of COVID, not necessarily because they had to die because it was that bad, but because there was not enough people just to take care of them. Right? So for us as leaders in the community, we're pounding the table. We need testing sites. Not only do I need testing sites, I need you to put these testing sites in churches and in organizations that the people in my community will trust, because that's the only way they're going to go get tested.
Yeah.
All of these testing sites start popping up in the city, right? Vaccines is coming out. We need vaccines in our community that our people can get, and we can get in their arms for free, full stop, right? Because if my people have to pay $1, they're not going to take it, right? Because if I talk to some of my people and they have to choose between spending $1 on a vaccine that they feel may or may not save their life versus spend that same dollar to put food in their family mouth, they're going to feed their family because the hunger is a more immediate need than the vaccine. So that's why the vaccines were free, because people like us was pounding the table that this would happen.
Well, that's good.
Also because it comes down to money. I mean, the federal government made these deals with Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna and told them that we are guaranteeing that we're going to pay for 100 million doses from each of you all up front, full paid, right? So you don't have to worry about your product being reimbursed when you've sold 100 million doses before you've come out with it, right? Like there's no reason to skimp on a product at that point. You paid 10 times over,
right?
And then when you filled that $100 million, that 100 million dose order, the government read up and did another $100 million, right? So all your money was paid for, which is why they had no problem saying, okay, we'll give you all the doses for free because we've made billions of dollars on it.
Got the money, okay.
Right, but this is information a lot of people in our community don't know.
Yeah,
they just hear, they just think, the government is giving us shots in our arms. And traditionally for black people, that has not turned out well. Right? So, but there was reasoning behind it.
Well, I wish you would have been, in front of the news and, to clear that, because you just basically broke it down, and I understand. And now I'm not anti-vaxxer. I think, if you, it's your choice. If you want to get that, then get it. But I've known so many people, including myself, who it just rubs you the wrong way. I've never seen like.
Are you vaccinated?
No, I've never seen. No, yes, I am actually. I've never seen the government move so fast as far as coming into a minority area and like popping up. That worried me so much. But now hearing you say what you said, I didn't know there was a fight like that behind the scenes. I didn't know that. That could have swayed a lot of my decision a little faster, or swayed a lot of people. They would have been more comfortable with receiving the shot if that was the case.
Absolutely. Right. And like I tell people too, like to get vaccinated or not, that's your choice. My job was to make sure it was available for you. Right? Period. But I also tell, because I've had this conversation with a bunch of politicians that we spoke at, a bunch of like public meetings that we've ran and had conversations. Yeah. It's not that my people don't trust the vaccine. They don't trust healthcare because of their experience with healthcare.
Yes.
Right? Like there's a clear difference. If either of y'all have ever been to some of the hospitals in the city, like the Presbyterians, the Northwells, the NYUs, and you compare that to what our people receive in our neighborhoods Kings County, Downstate, Interfaith, Kingsbrook, right? Brookdale, it is different.
It's different.
Right, like it's just different.
Even my medical care, like we got to pick someone, and we got to pick our doctors. I pick the ones in the city. You had in your network. They said I don't pick anything in
right.
It's totally different. It's run differently.
And it sucks because I love Brooklyn with my heart and soul. Right, like I am Brooklyn, but I'm not going here to get care just because I know that they're fighting an uphill battle, and if I get care, I want the highest chance of succeeding.
Right, that makes sense. Yes.
Right. So, yeah, brother. So that's again, it's information, and I think, especially when the pandemic happened, the information was just all over the place. Yeah, it was like fake news everywhere. One person is saying this, the other person is saying that, and then you have like these shots doing
the Johnson.
Yeah, like
making people scared.
No one knows what to do. But the pandemic itself is scary because now we're running out of ventilators, and you don't want to get that shot when it's too late because we might not have a bed for you or place. It's all scary. So the information just needed to flow a lot better than it did. And again, like that one thing that you said, that simple story that you told about that struggle that you had in order to make it free, that would have helped a lot. That would have helped a lot.
A lot of people didn't trust the science, like you said, because they were like, you know what, the vaccine came out too fast.
The speed of it.
It was like, it was like, dag, like normally a vaccine is supposed to take some time.
It takes longer.
It was like, they just rushed it out there, so people thought it was a money making thing. Like, why am I going to put this into my body? And they just push it out there, so people were scared about that.
So one of the things with
in Pfizer, they said they caught feces, like baby feces and stuff inside. You heard about that, right?
I didn't hear about that.
It wasn't baby feces. They're talking about aborted cells.
Oh,
jeez.
No,
right.
but they're talking about just the way that vaccines are made.
What?
Right? No, and what that really means is that because again, the best lies are based on the truth, right? Like the best lies are a lot of this is true, and I've changed 2 or 3 pieces. And then I packaged it under the lie I needed. So when you question me on it, I can say, is this not true? Is this not true? Is this not true? Then how am I lying?
Good
right?
point. Yeah.
So in terms of did the vaccines come out quickly, right? What people don't realize is that the thing that takes people the longest amount of time when it comes to pharmaceutical companies releasing new drugs is approval process and running trials. So running trials is first, but it takes people a long time to run their trials because you have to get people to willingly submit to that trial.
Okay.
Right? Like right now, there are, believe it or not, vaccines for HIV that have been stuck in trials trying to get more people because they have to have a certain amount of people before you can push it forward.
Okay.
Right? Okay. But how many black people you know that if I say, hey, I'm running this experiment on this HIV
No,
vaccine,
thank you. I'm good. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Right?
I'm
like,
good.
That's what you run into. When COVID hit, you didn't have that problem. Right? Meaning Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, which was done out in Europe. You had Russia who had their own vaccine. You had China who had their own vaccine. They all, every one of those vaccines had more than 50,000 participants in a research study.
Wow.
Right? More than 50,000. Why? Think about how many people we had diagnosed with COVID in this country. Millions of people. So there was no shortage of people that said, yo, I'll stand up and be a participant if it means we can get about this goddamn pandemic. Right. Right? So they had it. And then they watched these people for there were people doing trials because you have to think of it like this. You ever seen people who are gamers and they'll play a game even after they beat it, they'll keep playing it over and over to find new ways.
I know, you can look at
So you know this,
Of
right?
course, yes.
Right? Like, I want it.
It's
y'all
called
just
New Game Plus.
so you experiment.
Of course.
That same concept of experimenting just for the fuck of it. You have people who are biochemists that do the same thing. So when this first comes out and hits back in December of 2019, and they say, hey, there's this new virus we haven't seen in Wuhan, China, you got people that are biochemists that go, can you send me some of those details? Because I want to fuck around with it. Same way if I told you, yo, there's a new game that nobody can beat yet. You like, excuse me? Send that over here. Right? So you got people that they just want to fuck around with it just to see if they can actually do something more with it.
I
right?
understand. Yeah.
So as they're seeing, they're like, hey, I think this works. Like, I think this. But also remember, even as a gamer, there's no game where you're completely starting from scratch.
Oh, yeah.
They're all based on something else, similar concepts. It's the same thing with breaking down science and vaccines and looking at viruses. They're all based on something else. So you're looking at all of the stuff that has been used to treat it before as your ground level. And then people are like, hey, this may work and this may work. So those companies start saying, hey, all right, cool, let's put 500 people in there, right? Pay 500 people, tell them we're going to test this on them. So the vaccines were being tested as early as February 2020, right? So it wasn't that, it just all of a sudden it just came up. But it takes somebody to explain that to people, but even bigger than that, it takes the ability to be able to get the people you need it explained to the table to listen.
See, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, gotta wrap it up. We got 8 minutes left.
Oh, man.
But, ask your question real quick.
questions for the doctor.
You ask him, and then
You're just so good at articulating
Yes.
things, and you make me feel safe. Is what a doctor's supposed to do. I feel safe.
A comfort.
I really feel safe. Thank you for just being able to express yourself that way, because I feel like people are not saying it right. You know, they're just using scary words, and there's like death, no ventilator. Like, don't just
That's
teach
why I
me
had.
something.
That's why I had to bring him back on the pod again.
So, yeah, that's great, man. That's great. But I do have one quick question. I do want to know: are we out of the woods with this whole COVID thing, or are we safe now? Safer? Like, how? What do you think? What is your professional opinion?
So definitely much safer because we've vaccinated so many people that even if you catch it, it's going to be a weaker version. Keyword on weaker. Weaker doesn't mean that you're not going to get sick, just not potentially as sick.
Right.
And people, like, it's a misconception that vaccines prevent you from getting disease.
Right.
The purpose of vaccines is to prevent you from getting extremely sick from disease.
Yeah, it's the
Meaning
symptoms.
ending up in a hospital.
Right.
Right. That's how we define very sick.
Right.
If you don't end up in a hospital. So because so many people have been vaccinated, we've done that. Like a couple of us have joked around and said that Omicron might have been the version that God sent to us to get us all out of it. Just because from some of the studies we've seen is that Omicron is a much milder version, meaning it feels like a sinusitis, bad cold. But for whatever reason, and again, maybe God sent, it protected us from the previous strands of COVID as well.
Really?
So the way that,
did you know that? Because I didn't.
so from some of the stuff we've seen, that's what it was looking like. And the way that Omicron was very elusive to the vaccine, meaning preventing you from getting COVID. But the vaccine still did a good job of preventing you from getting very sick. So Omicron ran through us like a cheap date, right?
Yeah.
As a country, I'm pretty sure you know at least 100 people that had Omicron.
I had it.
in
I didn't get the earlier.
had Omicron?
I didn't get the earlier vaccines that was considered more dangerous, but everyone was just catching that one.
Omicron was shit. Everybody, I may have had it.
When I got tested, I got COVID earlier, like in February. Actually, that's when I caught COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I actually had COVID in December of 19. So I think
You had it before this whole thing hit.
Yeah, this is before they started talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did because I was getting tested and it was like, we don't know what's going on. You look like shit. But you don't got the flu, you don't have pneumonia, if that
really?
helps, right? And I was like, yeah, but I feel like I'm dying, and you're giving me 2 bags of fluid, and I just want to go home.
Yeah, I felt that way too. I was just in bed drinking fluids and I felt hot and cold at the same. It was weird.
And probably slept a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
I got 3 questions real quick. I want you to answer them rapid.
Lightning round.
Your daughter, do you see her being a nurse or anything like that, going in the same field as you, or you just let her decide?
She can be whatever she wants to be. And I just say that because
She's showing interest?
if she can't, then my sacrifices mean nothing. But she plays on, like, we just took her to Target yesterday. Just an example. And she brought like a doctor bed that runs like a Dr. Barbie that puts casts on their patient legs and stuff like that. But she goes from that to, I was watching Last Kingdom with her earlier today, and she's swinging a sword around saying she's killing people. So she's going to be interesting.
So it's either a doctor or Amazonian princess.
Right,
All right, cool.
interesting.
What do you normally do during Black History Month? I see you do a lot of things.
If I'm keeping it a buck, what I normally do during Black History Month is just be black. Meaning,
I respect that.
and what I mean by that is I spend 365 days, or I spend 11 months of being very pro-black and doing everything else. I feel like Black History Month is a month where other people acknowledge us and the things that we do. Right? So if you don't see me doing something for Black History Month, it don't mean I don't acknowledge it. It just means that it's the time for others to acknowledge the importance that Black folks has played in American history.
Right. Tell us more real quick about maternal health? Yeah.
So, and interesting enough, we have our Black Maternal Health Conference coming up on Sunday, April 10th at Long Island University, Brooklyn, where I'm the chair of School of Nursing there. Black women die during maternity, meaning during birth, at 3 to 4 times higher rates than their white counterparts, right? Than white women. And a lot of people say, oh, maybe it's money, maybe it's the hospitals they go to, but put it like this. a black woman with a doctor degree is more likely to die or have their baby die during the birthing process than a white woman that doesn't have a high school diploma. Right? A black woman that has millions is more likely to die or have their baby die than a white woman who lives under the poverty line. Right? So the only common denominator in these things is black women. Right? And it's not other minority women, it's black women. That is the common denominator in this. So what we do is we seek to bring awareness to this, but also I'm very big on, I can't just bring awareness, I have to bring you the solutions. So during our Black Maternal Health Conference, what we do is we have a panel, right, which looks very much just like this, and we'll bring experts that deal with maternity. So a midwife, a doula, a nurse that works in maternity, a women's health nurse practitioner, a neonatologist, a pediatrician, all of these people that deals with it, and talk about the issues that they see, and then we give the audience a chance to ask questions, right? Because there's a lot of people in the audience that want to get pregnant, but they're scared as hell from some of the things they've seen. Right? Like Beyonce had complications. Serena Williams almost died during birth. And these are rich people. Right? So we do that. Then we'll have another panel where the people and family members who have negatively experienced these things, sometimes they're survivors, sometimes they're speaking on a loved one that they've lost, a child or their wife, right? And they'll speak about the complications and things that went wrong and the scenarios they went through. Then we're going to take people upstairs. We're going to run them through simulations, and simulation means run them through a fake situation that mimics a real life situation, right? So we have something called postpartum hemorrhage, which is a woman that'll start bleeding after giving birth. So there's supposed to be some blood, but it's not supposed to be a lot of blood. One of the things they're realizing is that when black women say that, oh, I'm in pain, a lot of times their doctors, often white doctors, will say they're not really in pain, they're okay. Later on, they're coding, heart stop, they're dying. So dealing with that, dealing with things that they're facing during pregnancy. So we're just going to run simulations. It's going to be a great conference. But yeah, that's why we do it.
Yeah, I have a friend. She says she keeps trying to have a kid and she can never hold it. You know, just having miscarriages and stuff like that. So it's happening a lot. But it said black don't crack. What's going on? That's the thing.
I mean, you got to understand, it don't crack. But when you got people that's not going to treat you the same when you need help, then it's going to be a problem.
Do you think it's a diet, the health, what the black women are eating?
No, I think it's
racism. Racism?
Yeah, right.
Like I mean, it had to do something.
So put it like this. Back in, I think like 2018, 2019, they did a survey at a hospital where they asked all of the residents and doctors in the hospital to rate kind of like black women's pain, right? And they found out that all of them thought that black people had a higher pain tolerance because of the color of their skin.
Wow.
Right? They said that black skin is much tougher, so therefore you have these are medical doctors. Right. So imagine then you dealing with a patient and you're going, oh no, you're not really in pain, but you're dying inside, literally, right? You're bleeding out, dying. And I have past nurse practitioner students, right, that went through this when they were nurses, right? Like my sister has a master's in nursing. Like she went through a traumatic experiences. I have fraternity brothers who have lost their kids to this experience. So it's racism, right? And there's no way around it.
Because you hear about our grandparents, and my mom say our grandmothers had like 13, 14, 15 kids. They were just pushing out kids like, naturally, just,
But you probably also heard them say, or they won't talk about, right? One of those family secrets of how many times they lost a child.
Oh, okay, yeah, never talked about that.
Right?
It makes me, they're just pushing it out, even having it at home, not even in the hospital.
But that's the problem, right? Because, they should all be able to push them out and do it, yes. But how many times are you losing that child? Or how many times is the mom dying?
Real quick, AANP, tell us about that.
Oh, no. That's the American Association of Nurse Practitioners.
That's, you got an award with that. That's
the fellowship I was talking about at the beginning.
Okay. And before we go, let us know how we could reach you, how people could reach you, all that good stuff, baby. So,
I tend to be found all of my networks. I'm on Instagram the most, but JJ227, which is JAYJAE 227. Or you can just Google Dr. Julius Johnson. I'll come up. business wise, just everything, man. Or they can just get in touch with you guys and y'all can get in touch.
So I'm about to follow you right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Anything before we go, Caprice?
Well, thank you for scaring the shit out of us. I really, really appreciate it, Doctor. Congratulations on all of your success, and I wish you nothing but the best for you and your family. Please continue to teach us, and spreading that knowledge, because I think you're doing an absolute service to us all.
No, I appreciate y'all brothers for having me. It is always a joy coming on here, rapping with you. Nesta, I'm proud of you. I always tell you this, right? And even just for birthing and creating a space for us to talk about this, because that's how I got into it.
Right.
And it doesn't matter how far my career may take me, I'm always available to you to come sit down, talk it, kick it, and always for free. I'll make that promise to you.
All right.
Right. So, and then whenever you need me, brother.
All right. Definitely appreciate it, bro.
Absolutely.
That's what's up.
All right. This wraps up another episode of Face to Face. Yours truly, Nesta Caprice.
That's me.
Take care and God bless.